welcome back to When Harry Met Sally.
Hello, how are you, Harry?
I'm good. How are you doing, Sally?
Fantastic. Really well. Very excited about this episode.
So happy to be back in the Collarts podcast booth again. Thank you so much, Collarts, and thank you, Shaq, for being a part of this and doing all the amazing recording for us. I also just want to give a shout out to Martin Stevens, Sally Brownbell's amazing husband, who has done the intro music for us.
Don't we love it?
We love it.
Gets us in the mood.
Gets us in the mood
Thank
every
you.
time. Sally, do you want to introduce our amazing guest who's sitting here?
He's been sitting here very patiently. Today we have the one and only Jesse Marlow. How are you, Jesse?
Very well, Sally. How are you?
Fantastic. You know, Jesse has been in the Melbourne photography scene for a really long time and is doing really well overseas, and we want to have a chat to you about all of those sorts of things today and about your workshops that you've been doing, being a Leica ambassador. I mean, what haven't you done, Jesse?
Done a little bit.
Done a little bit. So I want to start with, I guess you're most famous for your street photography. I think if anyone's talking about street photography, they'll always go, oh, yeah, I'm Jesse Marlow. So how did you get into that and how's it sort of shaped your career?
Yeah, so I started obviously taking pictures on the street back when I was at photography school, and that it kind of just grew from there. I always had an interest in being out sort of in public with a camera, and from a very young age, of the age of sort of eight or nine. And then that sort of grew during high school. I was taking photos of graffiti over that period of time from sort of 86 to 96. And then when I went off to photography school, I had a lecturer that basically would take us into the city on these, he'd call them city walks. We'd head in on the train, go to South Bank, walk around there, take pictures. And that, I suppose, is where it kind of really sort of started to snowball and develop even further.
And then as time got on, you started winning amazing awards like the Bowness. How did that change your outlook on photography and what people thought?
Yeah, it's funny. I was just taking the pictures that I'd always taken and hadn't ever really sort of.
It was a fish and chip shop, maybe, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a fish and chip shop photo that I took of I think it was a derelict fish and chip shop out in Mount Waverley, and I was just driving past one day and saw this interesting sort of backdrop and thought I'd wait, take some pictures of that, see what happens. And then something magical happened in front of the camera. A lady walked past. I think she was posting a letter. And I took 2 shots of her walking in one direction and then two shots as she walked back. And that was the picture that ended up winning the prize.
So was it something that you thought, this is a prize-worthy submission, I'm going to enter this, or was it more that the Bowness came round and you thought, what have I got here, and I just want to put in something that I love?
I think you'd sort of, if you were entering competitions and stuff like that, thinking you had prize-winning photos and that's why you're entering it, you'd be doing it for the wrong reasons. I never have ever set out to sort of, enter comps for those reasons. I purely, like you said, just had a picture that I thought maybe all right, throw my hat in the ring. Yeah. If I become a finalist, good. If not, no big deal.
What I picked up just then when you were talking was that you took 2 shots one way and 2 shots the other day, which is such a sign of people like us who grew up on film photography when you had 10 or 12 frames. Were you shooting on a medium format camera or?
It was on film cameras with my Leica M6. Got to put a plug in for Leica as an ambassador. But I took 2 shots.
That would be Leica camera. Sorry.
Yeah, so I took 2 shots as she was walking past. Another 2. There was no motor drive or anything. It wasn't one of these 30 frame per second cameras.
But don't you see that? I see that so much with young photographers now, where they just shoot, and that's 500 frames. It's like you get it right, and is that the beauty of street photography, where you are sort of shooting short frames?
Well, this one was a bit lucky in a sense that it was just timing, really, that I think is what won the picture. It was where she was walking past. There was this sort of laser beam of light that looked like it was coming from her eyeballs, but when she walked past, I didn't sort of see that as such. I just saw her with a headscarf on and this, interesting wall in the background. Shot the 2 frames and the extra 2 when she walked back through, and then got the films processed and saw what was on the film and told myself that was what I meant to do. So that's the beauty of it.
I think there's always a bit of that in all of us, isn't there? Oh, that was intentional. Yeah,
absolutely,
right from the beginning.
And with your street photography as a commercial photographer, how much importance do you think the fact that when creative directors and designers and companies want to work with you, they're looking at, because we're always looking for a point of difference. Is it your street photography that you think has helped you along the way, or who you are as a person, or how you see things, or how you collaborate? What do you reckon it is?
Yeah, I think it has definitely helped with certain jobs that I've done over the years. There's definitely been commissions that I've been able to sort of win over the years that have purely come from my personal street work. And they're the sort of commissions that end up in the portfolio and on the website and the ones you show the world. These are the ones that, an art director or a creative director has seen something in my personal work that they want their product or their place or whatever it is photographed in that same style. And that, is, I suppose, the ultimate as a photographer, to be commissioned for those commercial jobs based on your personal work.
And then the rest of the time?
The rest of the time, look, I've been a working photographer for 25 years, so I've worked across a whole different range of commercial areas. When I was starting out, I shot weddings, I shot events, I shot used to do band photography.
Did school portraits?
Still done a bit of work. Have done a bit of work for schools over the years and universities and banks. They're always good because they've got money, as opposed to independent record labels that you might wait 6 months to get money off. So I think it's important to have a really diverse and kind of multifaceted client base. I think
would you say that as your career has progressed, that those kind of, I guess, two sides of your photography have sort of started to merge into kind of one sort of style, rather than, because I think a lot of people, especially when they're first starting out, they have this kind of commercial style where they're shooting for the brand, and then they have their personal style. And I guess, is yours kind of merging now into just, what you want to shoot and the way you want to shoot?
Yeah, pretty much. I had a moment, I think it might have been just before COVID. So it was probably 2018, 2019, around about there. And I had some other work that was starting to dry up. And I thought, I'm not really I don't have a whiteboard at home with plans or notes and this sort of stuff, or sort of goals or anything like that. But I got to this point with my work where I started to try to work out what my strengths were, because let's face it, there's a lot of photographers out there. And I started to think, what am I offering that's different to other photographers? And I had this personal work and this portfolio of different awards and books and exhibitions and different things like that. And that was what my strength was. So I started to realise that's where I need to, double down and put my energy into that stuff, rather than trying to, chase ad jobs or something.
Well, one of the things I've learned over many, many years of working with photographers, you can never second guess what somebody wants to see in your work, right? So you put in what you want to be doing, and they either like it or they don't. And it's never really just about the work, is it? It's about how you relate to them as a person and what time of life you're at, or if you've got kids that are growing up together. There's all sorts of reasons why people want to work with you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you get to choose that as well sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. So I think getting to that point, that was probably 20 years into my career.
Yeah.
And
so it's a patience game.
It's a patience game, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and
sorry, Sarah.
No, gosh,
one
cut
of
me
my
off.
favourite initiatives of yours is the paste ups that you did. I just think, what a wonderful project to do. And, for people that know you, you'd be walking around Melbourne and suddenly, there's a Jesse Marlow.
Yes,
Or,
they
there's
were
another
all down
one.
on the river path and in Richmond, just near where we both live. I'd see them everywhere.
Just
pretty
was
cheeky.
That an idea that you had that you executed? Did you come up with it one night at the pub with some friends, or how did that come about, and why?
And did you get permission?
Well, that's a good question, Sally. No comment, as they say.
Take the fifth.
Yeah, take the fifth, exactly. So look, so how I first got into photography was through taking photos of graffiti. And as a teenager, I had a lot of friends that were into it and are still into it. And I was never any good at it, luckily. I dabbled with it and hung out with a lot of graffiti artists. And so I was sort of surrounded by that and always interested in it. And then I was living over in Europe in 2006, and I was doing a scholarship over there, and it hadn't worked out. And they had this big printer and I.
What hadn't worked out? The scholarship?
Yeah, I was doing this scholarship over at Fabrica in Benetton, the Benetton over in Italy. They had this creative scholarship where they commissioned photographers to come over or creatives, and it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, so I had a lot of free time.
Yeah.
They had a big printer. I started doing some big AO prints of my work and putting them up around this little Italian town on the sort of the walls of the town, and I thought this is kind of cool. And so then during lockdown, I did it a few more times when I got back, but life got busy. I had kids. The idea of going out at night and putting paste ups up wasn't really an option back in those days, sort of 2010, 11. And then during lockdown, I revisited it. I finally had time.
Yeah.
And basically what started off as just a couple of paste ups around Richmond where I live ended up being sort of, the next 3 years worth of evenings.
Wow.
And lots of them.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I loved seeing them. I'd take photos of them. I think I'd send them to you.
I'm actually going to go and do some tonight.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm
Really?
making a comeback. Yeah,
Amazing.
I'm actually the next place I'm going after here is to the printers to pick up a big
Stop.
order. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So look out for them.
Can you give us a hint as to where they might be put
Oh,
up?
they'll
Give
be
us a
around.
postcode.
They'll be around sort of South Melbourne,
Okay.
Richmond.
Okay, cool.
I've got my eye on a few walls.
I love that.
Yeah.
Something.
Do you think that's something that you're like a long-term project? It's come back in again now. Might it always be there?
And are the kids helping?
The kids spot them.
Yeah.
The kids often, when we're in the car and driving, they'll yell out and say something, and
That's
they
nice.
loved it and
That's
and do
nice.
That is fantastic. Do you want to talk about being a Leica ambassador? How did that all come about?
So back in I think it was about 2010, I got approached to have one of my photos used for an advert for Leica, which is a camera brand I use for a lot of my personal work and commercial work now. And then I think in 2015, I was still shooting film. They were bringing out a camera that was their sort of digital camera that aimed at street photographers. I got asked to be the ambassador for that camera, and that went really well. I think the camera sold really well globally. I was used as one of the ambassadors for it, so that then kind of boosted me in that direction, and then it's just kind of snowballed. Like a lot of these steps you take along the way. Like if you're easy to work with, people want to work with you, and I think that's something that I've always tried to do. And the role with Leica has just grown and grown, and run workshops here and overseas, and have now started running the Leica Academy here. So I'm the manager now. I think.
Look at you. Would you like us to do a podcast there for Leica at some point?
Absolutely. Well, I think
Leica, are you listening?
I think it's because I've got grey hair now, so people think you know what you're talking about when you've got grey hair.
absolutely.
Yeah, wisdom.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's it.
Is that something? So the workshops, you were kind of running workshops on your own before that, and then they've kind of meshed with Leica workshops as well, or is that something that is stepped up since you're Leica ambassador?
Yeah, I was running them for different. I'd done some at Monash and CCP and these sort of places, and then the Leica ones as well. And then I think the Leica ones just really started to grow and develop, and then there's more demand for it, and then start traveling with it and taking them overseas. And
for those that are listening, out of interest, what kind of person is coming to these workshops? Are they all young emerging photographers, or are they some older photographers, or people that aren't photographers that just want to know more about photography? Or
it's a real mix. I think especially with the street ones, you get people that have sort of read about what street photography is all about, and want to get out there on a weekend and take some pictures. And I think, especially with the street stuff or the street workshops, it's a really accessible form of photography. You don't need a tripod, you don't need a model, you don't need a studio. You basically just need a camera and your legs, and go for a walk and look for things.
fantastic. And how often are you doing that in around your other work? Do you sort of book them in first? And the reason I ask that is a little bit like Harry and I, we are doing so many different things, and one of the things we have referred to a lot is talking about time management. And how do you go with that, Jesse?
Not very well.
Yes,
time
right.
management. Yeah,
and then we stuffed your times up today, but you got
did.
here anyway.
No, that's right. No.
But yeah, how does that work for you? Do you have somebody that helps you?
Not really.
Do you need somebody that helps you?
Yeah, I would. It's a challenge. I've got obviously my own commercial work still, which is I'm not sort of doing as much as I used to, but I'm still trying to juggle that with the the personal work, which is the ongoing street stuff and some documentary projects from time to time, and then the workshops. And there's a lot of late nights working sort of on the commercial work. I do most of my editing at night so that I'm not impacting my days.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of sitting at the computer at night these days.
And you've got a studio at home too, don't you?
Got a little home office studio. Yeah, so that's been really, really helpful for that, to have that space finally. And
It's a lovely space.
thank you.
And nice kitchen too from the Bowness days. But so we've got some people that are listening now that are emerging photographers. You've talked a lot about diversification, which I certainly think is a must, especially living in Australia. What do you spend most of your time doing, I guess, these days?
So most of my time these days is the Leica, running the Leica Academy.
Right.
That's probably 70% of my time.
Okay.
And that gets me travelling and going off to places and running workshops. So I find I shoot a lot more for myself when I'm on those
Nice.
trips.
On the road.
On the road. I don't sort of go into the city and walk around the city for 4 hours at a time like I did as a 18
I
to
do.
25-year-old
Yes, but
photographer.
I remember you with your Leica
Yeah.
over your camera and having a coffee in Swan Street. Your
Yeah.
Leica over your
Yeah.
shoulder,
Over
not
my
over your
shoulder.
camera, over your shoulder. Yes, and how did the family feel about that?
The workshops, the
Yeah,
travel.
the
Yeah,
travel.
it's hard. It's been a challenge, but I think that's where my work's headed, and that's sort of the direction it's gone in, and just, yeah,
And everyone's embraced it.
everyone's embraced it.
Yeah, we were just talking the other day to Ricky about the importance of keeping yourself actively fit and healthy, but keeping that balance between work and family life.
Yeah.
In the past it was always about when women had babies and how did you stop and come back into life, but it's so much about dads these days because you're all such hands-on, right? And that time management thing is one of the things that I see most and help people the most with, because it can be really tricky. And you don't want to say no, do you?
It's hard to say no, and that's something that I've my whole career struggled with, saying no, and that's probably something I'm probably getting better at.
Yeah.
But it's still, when you run your own business and you're self-employed, and saying no means often no money. So
It's a really hard thing. I try and tell my students that, the job that's just been offered to you is not your job yet. You don't have to say it. You don't have to say yes. That money is not yours yet, but it's hard to not envision that being yours and progressing your career and your finances and, everything else to help your business move forward.
And
It's
I've
really
got a
hard.
question about talking, because we're sort of bringing young people into it as well and emerging photographers. Do you use assistants very often? Not that I'm wanting anyone to be ringing you if they're listening to this, but you tend to work a bit more solo, don't you?
bit of a lone wolf on that front. I have used them a fair bit over the years, but they've been for more kind of commercial, portraiture jobs, or setting up backdrops and just helping with stuff like that. So I don't use them that often.
Fun fact, in 2008, when I first moved to Melbourne, I rang up Jesse and asked if he needed assistance.
And what did he say?
He said, I don't really use assistants. But he was very nice and kind on the phone. I don't know if you even remember.
I do remember that, actually. I'm glad I'm still saying the same thing.
That's very kind of you to say.
Sorry.
Phew.
Cool. Yeah.
Off the hook there.
Wow.
I guess
Close
we're sort
call.
of coming towards the end of the session. I just do you still love it? You said you've been photographing since you were 8 years old, and I feel like, especially with people that are doing street photography that are out there trying to find that one iconic image, they just really love it. They live it, and I feel that.
Well,
I feel
that's
that's what it is with you. But
Yes,
do you still love it?
Yeah, well, it's a great question, but the question we should be asking is why does he do it?
Yeah.
We're asking everybody, why do you do it?
Why do I do it? I do it because I still love it. And
There
there you go. I mean,
Beautiful.
That's pretty much it. And I think it's just that curiosity that I've had since
Yeah.
I was a little boy, being out there with a camera. It's a pretty simple answer, and it's just the joy that brings and the unknown. I think if I knew what I was going to be photographing every day, I would have probably got bored of it. But
Yeah.
doing the work that I do and just going on a drive or getting on a plane and going somewhere and going for a walk with my camera and hoping to see something is what continues to drive and excite me.
And the ebbs and flows of photography, just taking that in your stride. I think you've always been showing great eloquence in that.
I've tried to.
Yeah, well, the
Thanks, yeah.
example of,
Yeah.
hanging, going around in COVID and making the most of it. And I think for many of us, COVID was that time to stop and reflect.
Yeah.
Rather than just sitting there. I think photographers did an extraordinary job, as so did universities during that whole period of time of reinventing themselves. What can we do? Should
Yeah.
we write a book? Should we put up posters? And, you are such a huge photographer to admire for your consistency and the way that you always go about things, I think, Jesse. No wonder you're an ambassador for Leica. And we have been very privileged that you made time for us today and got your
Absolutely.
time management skills working very well today.
Thank you.
It's been
Harriet
wonderful.
and Sal.
Yeah. Thanks so much for being a part of it,
Pleasure.
Jesse.
I've had fun.
Okay, so I guess we'll wrap up there, Sal. So next week we're going to be speaking with Isamu, who you know quite well.
I do. Another extraordinary Melbourne photographer working between the commercial
And
space
art world.
and the art space.
Yeah, so
So
that's going to be really exciting.
It's going to be really exciting. We are very privileged to have all these people coming through, aren't we?
We are. We're so lucky.
So thank you for listening to another episode of When Harry Met
Thank
Sally.
you for listening. Thanks again, Collarts, for providing the podcast. And thank you, Jesse,
Thanks,
for being
Jesse.
a part of it.
Thank you.
You're fabulous.